Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. It's your host, Matt Seha. We are buzzing as always. And folks, if you tuned into the last couple episodes on YouTube or any of the visual platforms, you would have noticed that I am in a bit of a different spot that I normally am in Mexico. I'm back in the usual place I am, and it was a bit of a battle being in that old Airbnb. Shout out to Daryl, our incredible editor who works some magic on the last couple of episodes, as I dealt with just nonstop drilling and hammering all day long. But we're back. We had to reschedule with our incredible guest today, who we will jump into in one quick second. But boy, oh boy, is it good to be back. And now time for the intro. We have an absolute gun on the show today, the one and only Nemil Dalal, the head of Coinbase developer platform, also known as CDP, a suite of tools designed to simplify and secure blockchain development. CDP aims to make building on-chain applications as accessible as traditional software development, helping developers and creators of all skill levels innovate within the on-chain economy. He joined Coinbase way back in the day in 2019. It's a bit of a throwback as the director of crypto and has since been a key part of creating the building blocks for developers to build on-chain experiences for 1 billion users. Before Coinbase, Nemil served as CEO for CryptoFin, where he developed one of the earliest DeFi protocols, a true vet in the space, and one of my favorite companies in the crypto space. Nemil, welcome to the show, my friend. Pumped to have you on. How you doing this lovely afternoon?
Thanks, Matt. Super excited and pumped to be on as well. Doing great this afternoon.
I love it. And folks, as always, whenever I'm invested in any capacity in a guest or their company that comes on the show, I always let you guys know I do have Coinbase stock via I think it's in my RRSP or TFSA, whatever one of those crazy Canadian investment vehicles that we have. Again, is it a lot? Heck no, I am not rich, but I do have some Coinbase stock. Mind you, again, got to let you guys know, as always, just doing my due diligence here. That is not the reason why Nemil is on the show. He is one of the OGs of the crypto space, and he works for Coinbase, probably the most reputable and one of the best, if not the best company in the whole space. So that's why he's on, but I got to let you guys know. Let's jump right into it. Coinbase 2019, a lot has changed since then. 6 years passed. Shit is going absolutely bananas. We got AI agents absolutely everywhere. We got Coinbase doing a whole lot of everything. You guys might even tokenize the Coinbase stock, which we will get into later. I love seeing that in the news last week. But walking through your journey, what did you do a little bit before Coinbase? And give me some good stories from 2019 to 2025 Coinbase.
I'll actually take you back to 2012. So I was in Y Combinator, which is the startup incubator based in California, Northern California. And I met someone called Armstrong. He was walking around, he was handing out Bitcoin to sign up for his brand new crypto exchange that he was starting. So he was giving out 0.1 Bitcoin to everyone there at the time. I think must have been worth
0.1.
0.1 must have been worth a few dollars, maybe $5 at the time most of Bitcoin. And so he handed it out to me. I was there. I was doing a 3D printing startup at the time. And I was like, what is this? And he got me, really excited to read the Bitcoin white paper. It's probably one of the most readable white papers I think I've seen. My father was in academia.
100%.
Compared to that, this was super, super easy to read. I read it and I was like, this is it. This is going to change everything. Like the world is never going to be the same again. And so I really am thankful to Brian, just like probably many of your listeners. He's the one who started a lot of the world into their Bitcoin investing journey, into their on-chain journey, or actually trying the applications that are out there. So I got that first 0.1 Bitcoin. My startup failed in about 2014, 2015. And I got super, super excited about this thing called smart contracts. And so at the time, Bitcoin actually had a smart contracting language. It was super complex. Only the most extreme computer scientists or software engineers could write in it because there's a pretty hard language to write in. But I was like, this part of it, almost more than anything else, is actually going to be super powerful going forward. And that's why when Ethereum launched, I was like, this is the continuation of that dream that Bitcoin had. And that's how everything got started for me. So I like to joke that similar to superheroes have their own origin story of how they get started being crime fighters. I think in crypto, everyone has their own origin story. Yeah. It might be your friend who's talking about international remittances or getting money around the world. It might be paying 2-3% fees that merchants are paying today. It could be talking about just trying to do cool things with digital goods online. And all of these are reasons people come on chain. And so this is, for me, that's what really got me into it. And then in 2018, just to cut, to what you asked, was like in 2018, Coinbase was looking for a head of USDC. It had just launched. And I had been running a DeFi protocol. And that was one of the missing ingredients for us at the time, was we needed a stablecoin. A lot of people thought at the time that Bitcoin, Ethereum, these were going to be sufficient. But to me, it felt absolutely clear that you also needed dollars on chain, easy to be able to be used. And it wasn't sufficient just to have them in fiat. in bank accounts. They had to be on chain, and people around the world had to be able to use them. So that's how I came to Coinbase. It started with that, and then the rest is history.
That's so cool. I mean, I love how you brought up the origin story thing, and just sort of a quick little antidote to that. I just spent 6 weeks in Argentina at the end of Q4, and like they legit use crypto there. You know, like you're American, I'm Canadian, or at least you live in, San Fran. I spend a good chunk of the year in Toronto. No one uses crypto for anything besides strictly degen stuff or investing, whatever you want to call it. Just had the CEO of Coinbase Canada on the pod as well. And completely different going to Argentina. These guys use it every single day. They use Tether or USDC, mostly Tether, but they use Tether to exchange to Argentine pesos. And it's just cool. A lot of merchants accept it like right then and there. You're tapping your app. So it's really cool to see, how people actually get into the space and use it for good, whereas most of us are really just degening. But let's jump into CDP here. Or sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and Matt, like what I was going to say was like that experience I feel happens around the world. I've been to multiple countries. I work in East Timor for the World Bank. I was in Moscow and did my study abroad there. These are all countries that actually used to use the dollar today because of the inflation risk that they ran into. I think when I was in Moscow, there was the Asian financial crisis. And so as a result, people lost their life savings overnight. So I think that like what we're seeing in Argentina is just the start, like the future for a lot of the world. They're just early because the need is even so much more acute in those countries.
100%. Let's jump into CDP. I guess the long form would be the Coinbase Developer Platform. You head the CDP there. I think it's a cool acronym too. I like saying CDP. I don't know, it just rolls off the tongue nice. But give us the elevator pitch, the TLDR. What exactly is it? And then we'll get into the fun stuff.
Yeah. So our vision is to make it easy for anyone to build anything on chain. We want to make 1 million developers be able to build on chain so they can build for 1 billion users. Now, these numbers are pretty fantastical versus where we are today. There's maybe 50,000 developers in the space. There's maybe a few 100 million people that are interacting on chain, but this is going to grow. This is going to be the internet of money for the world. And so we're really excited to make that super easy. So for folks like listening, you may, AWS, Amazon Web Services, Stripe, these are companies that made it transform the process of developing to make it super easy for anyone to do. So in a previous world, it might have taken years of a degree that you needed. It might have taken hundreds or thousands of lines of code for you to build an experience. With AWS, with Stripe, you can do that on the web very easily. Our mission is to do the same thing to make it super easy on chain. So for example, the nodes you need, the APIs to be able to connect bank accounts, to convert from a bank account onto an on-chain balance. These are all the things that we provide. We'll talk a little bit more about AI as well, how we're making it super easy for AI to come on chain, which is something that in the first versions of AI didn't happen, but with our AgentKit, suddenly make it very, very easy to be able to do. So that's our goal. It's pretty simple. We want to allow anyone to build anything on chain. CDP has a whole host of tools, 10 plus products at last count, that make it super easy for any developer to be able to do that.
And it's got to help, obviously, having, the Coinbase brand name behind. It's not just like some Joe Schmo, and you're not a Joe Schmo by any means, but if you were to just have your own little dev kit, it's like, okay, one lad has it, but like Coinbase is probably the most reputable and trustworthy brand in all of crypto. You know what I mean? Like that's gotta move the needle a shit ton, right?
It's a huge thing for the developers, why they get excited about building on top of us. And I'll maybe share like a few things about that. One is there's a reason Coinbase exploded in the early 2010s. And it was that like doing stuff on chain, buying Bitcoin even was so hard.
Yeah.
And so one of the core foundational values of Coinbase is about making things easy. And even though we work with developers, it's still the same exact pain point and problem, which is that it's hard to build on chain and we want to make it super easy. Then I think the second thing you said is just trust, is that we consider ourselves most trusted and we spend time being super thoughtful about that. And I can, share with you like war stories of just what it took to launch something, but to do it the right way, to think through the regulations, to think through the security requirements of something is really important, and it takes time. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about that. And I think the last thing I'll say is that Base has been a force of nature very recently. So a lot of your users may know, but it's one of the largest blockchains in the world. It's an L2 on Ethereum. And what we do is we pride ourselves on having some of the best tools to be able to build on Base. Base isn't the only platform we support. We support platforms like Solana and others, but Base is super critical. And as a result, it's been really, really great that like Coinbase has really leaned into that. And again, the same values, trusted, easiest to use, also come through in Base.
I love it. Let's jump into, there's so many different ways we can take this, but I know probably 99% of the listeners, and unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, but the biggest chunk of the listeners and the biggest chunk of everyone is just so horny, for lack of better words, about AI right now. And you guys have AgentKit, which is the absolute gold mine and secret sauce that bridges AI and blockchain. Give us the goods on that, and then let's just take a deep dive into AI agents, all the crazy stuff that's happening, and maybe the future of AI and blockchain. Couple of things that I'm super excited about, using an LLM, which I'm sure you guys will have out in the next couple of months, definitely over the next couple of years, where I can just be like, sell my USDC, buy Solana, trade this meme coin, do this, do that, leverage this, you know what I mean? But let's just start with AgentKit, and then we'll get into all the wild, crazy AI agent stuff.
There's so many great examples. We have a monthly grants program, and so we see, maybe 100 plus different developers who build really cool things on it. And that's your example. XMTP is already doing that. You can tell it what to do, and it will go exactly do an on-chain action as a result. But let me wind back to the start, which is that, if a little while ago, a small company called OpenAI released ChatGPT. What is the biggest challenge with all these early AI agents was that they didn't talk on-chain. They couldn't speak in the vernacular of on-chain. So as a result, you had all these amazing agents. You could talk to it. You could do a ton of different things with it, but they couldn't do things on-chain. There's another related issue, which is that none of them had credit cards or bank accounts. So if they wanted to interact financially, which is, if you can imagine, that's like a pretty critical use case for an AI agent. Hey, go buy this for me, go talk to 3 people, get some feedback from them, pay them a little bit of money for their advice, synthesize it, give it back to me. These are all examples that you can't do without money being involved. And these are things that you can't do without connecting, an AI agent to the blockchain. So that's where AgentKit came in. We launched it on Base for Python. So if you're a Python developer, that's where we started. We also have JavaScript now. And what it did was make it super easy to take any of your AI agent of choice. So it didn't have to be ChatGPT. It could be Claude. It can be any of the other ones that are out there that you want to be able to connect on chain. And then it lets you give it a wallet and let you do a bunch of different actions on chain. So for example, simple action could be, hey, like you said, Matt, I want to send my 10 ETH, I want to send it across the world. Can you do that? Here's the address to send it to. And you just speak to it. So we've seen examples where people obviously write it out, but we've also seen examples where people are just talking to their AI agent. It's almost like their personal assistant.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I'll give you some other really great examples. We have a cool food ordering one as well that I'll talk to you about that Byte AI did. But before I get there, what I'll just say is you can talk to that AI agent. It can do anything on your wallet that you want it to be able to do. So for example, you want it to mint an NFT. You want it to be able to take the funds and go YOLO into Airdrome or into Uniswap. You want it to be able to take your funds and earn some yield and think about risk management. These are all things that can be built on top of AgentKit. So the vision with AgentKit is that we want to let anyone who's a developer connect an agent to a wallet. And then the world is their oyster in terms of what they want to do.
So cool. I can't wait till people like me, the non-devs, can. And I know there's a couple applications out there, but I mean till it gets really simple, where even I can make something cool with that. How far out are we until that happens? Or do you think I could?
I think you already could. So maybe I'll give you some examples. There's one team called Byte AI, BYTE. It's this cool play on words, and then _AI on Twitter. And so what they did was they basically went to, I think it was KFC. And they basically,
I saw
went to
that.
KYC. So there's this really cool video floating around online, which I really love. But what they did was they basically said, hey, they talked to their agent. Think about it almost as you're standing outside the restaurant takeout window and you're talking to someone, and it was just an AI agent. And they said, hey, order me this. And on the other side, what was happening was that it was being converted. They were collecting payment, and this was in crypto. And then the crypto was converted. It was sent to DoorDash, and then it eventually showed up. And they literally showed the screen in the fast food restaurant of the order showing up, right? And so these are real world use cases, right? Is that people want to ask their AI to do stuff. You don't want to go through, let's say, 7 apps on your phone to be able to do something. You want to just tell your AI everything you want to do, and it can go figure out how to do it. And this is just one example of that. I'll give you maybe one more example that I thought was really fun from our grants program with Sweetman_ETH. He was thinking about ways to make it easy for artists, specifically, let's say you're a musician, if you want to be able to create an AI agent that can help you get successful as an artist. So for example, run a marketing campaign, launch an NFT, ask you what the cover art is. These are things that you could do, put it on chain as an NFT, pay people. If you need their support, you need to pay them in USDC or whatever currency of choice. The more any other interactions you want to do on chain tied to being someone who's trying to become an artist, and trying to grow as a singer. These are all things that they can do as well. And so we'll be sharing a little bit more about that in the coming weeks, but Sweetman's already started posting on Twitter, and I've really loved some of his posts so far.
That's so cool. Nemil, you're on a roll here. We do need to take a quick break. A huge shout out to our sponsor of the show, and we get back. We are going to keep buzzing on everything CDP, AI agent related, and some future in AI and crypto stuff. Until then, huge shout out to Prime XPT, longtime friends and sponsors of the Crypto News Pod. We love these guys as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet. You can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XPT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News Pod. Use the promo code CryptoNews50, that is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Let's go back into AgentKit and just a couple more AI. Again, just we got to appease the listeners here. I guess this is a little selfish on my end too, because I love the AI stuff. It's so much fun. Quick little break from AgentKit. We'll jump back into that. What's your take on all of the current bots on Twitter right now? Is that a fad? Is that here to stay? Like AI XBT is one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
Like the verbiage it uses, the lingo, how it synthesizes stuff. And when it first came out a couple months ago, I was fact checking the shit out of it. It's right most of the time. And it's sort of wild because to my knowledge, a couple of years ago, that would take, $1 million in salary per year over, we'll call it 200K analysts. And now you have this LLM that's just pumping out gold left, right, and center. Is this here to stay? How hard would that, how hard is that for someone to build? Just, give me a good old dump on everything you got on that.
Yeah, we're super excited about this trend. We think it's going to keep growing. So we power virtuals, which has been amazing to see their growth.
Yeah.
And so for folks who don't know, we're also doing a hackathon in February 1st and 2nd in San Francisco. If you're interested, just take a look at my Twitter. I'll share that. The handle is Nemil D. But if you're interested, it's been really awesome to see the growth of virtuals, just as an example. And there are 10,000 plus agents that they have on-chain using AgentKit to be able to do this. And so it's really, really amazing to see what that team has been able to accomplish. Excited to see where they go from here. But to your question, absolutely, is that I think the number of agents are just going to accelerate. We talk about there's X billion people in the world. There can be many times that number of agents. And I think it all just comes down to is what utility do those agents provide and what do they do? And so I think in the early stages, you saw pretty simple agents. They would talk, they would launch. And I think a lot of this was tied to Pump.Fun and the other forms of meme coins where they would be tied to that. I think Truth Terminal was a really powerful experiment if you follow that at the time as well. And I would just say is I think every week we're accelerating what these AI agents are able to do. So I think that the question is what are the next version of these AI agents going to do? And I think you can see everything from something like characters AI. That's what Luna, I think that you mentioned, is like a personality that you want to interact with. People are excited to do that. They may have a connection to it. Could be a function of a celebrity, that they want to talk to. I think in crypto circles, I've seen agents like Dean Spartan, agent coming back and things like that. And so that's one category that we absolutely see is characters. And characters tied to wallets that people get connected to, they can talk to. And you might not be able to talk directly to Taylor Swift on Twitter, but you are able to talk to an AI agent. They might be trained on that celebrity's background and so can respond in that way. Or they're a brand new person like Luna, that has some differences and you're actually developing a direct relationship with them. So I think that's just one example, but there are lots of other ones. I could see things like investing bots. Investing is probably a big use of Twitter in general in the crypto
100%.
community.
Yeah.
And so I could definitely see investing bots giving feedback, giving ideas, giving technical indicators of what people can do. And again, you need on-chain data to figure any of this out, right? You need to see what the latest on airdrome is and to decide if there's an alpha that you want to be able to share. And so that's what I think, an AI agent can be able to do. Another thing that I think is really interesting is this generation of AI agents, there's always a human behind the scenes that gets to own the wallet, decides what they want to do with it.
Yeah.
I could see the next version, that's what we're building through an AgentKit, is a wallet that basically the AI agent can directly manage. But there's a policy engine behind it. So for example, the creator of it can say, hey, you can't send more than $100 without going through this. Or, hey, don't send it to these addresses, they're scam accounts or they're risky accounts or whatever. But the AI agent basically has more autonomy. And I think as we get more and more secure with the AI agent, we feel that's comfortable, that's trained well, that it's doing the right thing. My sense is that people may think more and more about a model like this rather than having to be accountable for every single transaction that's in that wallet and tracking it each time, maybe even having to deploy it themselves. So that's another example of what I see happening. But I would just it'd be fun to come back, Matt, in a year or even 6 months and see. But I would not be surprised if we're 10 to 100x the number of agents that are on social And I think we're starting to see that, in Twitter in a really big way and Farcaster in a really big way. But I would not be surprised if like we 100x that. And I just expect it to go up exponentially. I think the thing that I'm just really interested in is like, what are the key use cases? There's some obvious ones like investing advice, characters, AI, type agents. But I'm curious, beyond that, could it be the food ordering? Could it be that every app you have is replaced by a single, kind of like a Siri, but like an
Yeah.
omniscient Siri that
Yeah.
can do any of those things and just move money from your on-chain wallet into anything that needs money? That I don't know, but I'm really excited to see. And just so you know, like every month we have a grants program. And so we're seeing, every month brand new ideas people have never thought about. And I would just say this is the fastest moving space. I've been in crypto for a decade. This is the fastest moving space that I've seen in crypto in that time, which has been really cool to see.
It's so cool because again, like you said, it allows people like me who cannot just launch. I mean, sure, I can throw up a pumped up fund in 4 seconds, not an issue. But if I want to actually build something meaningful, up until a couple of years ago, and furthermore present day, I couldn't do that. I'd have to sit my ass in front of my computer and haul ass for hours on hours on hours to at least gain a foundation to learn how to code, and then send it to someone like you who knows what they're doing to to double check it and then fire away into the universe. But now it's like, I'm sure if we're recording on a Monday, if you were like, yo, you got a week, Matt, I'm sure I could get it done in a week,
Yeah.
on CDP if I just worked hard enough. Whereas before that couldn't happen. It's removing the barrier to entry. So all these people with really good ideas who didn't have a coding background, now you can dance. Now you can put your shoes on and get on the dance floor, which is really cool.
Like one great example for that is like the last bull run. If you think about the whole NFT craze, there's so many of my friends that were designers. They weren't developers, but they wanted to be able to build build an NFT, create a collection, deploy it on chain. This is exactly like what AI can allow you to do. And so like you've seen Cursor is probably the biggest example of this, but there's GitHub Copilot, there's others. And like last year, I heard that 76% of developers have used AI coding applications in 2024. So that was the fastest like adoption curve, that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I would expect that number to basically be 100%. But where I think it gets really interesting is like, we call your segment like builders. So they're not developers per se. They haven't like spent years training, under the tutelage of a developer, worked at like a big tech company, any of that stuff. But there are tens of millions of folks like you around the world. And candidly, there are moments in my career when I was like this, where it wasn't super easy to be able to build something. And I needed, like the old version of this might be looking at Stack Overflow, or something else like that, getting ideas of what to do. And so I think the new version of this is that you talk to an AI agent, it like creates something, it deploys it for you, and maybe even skins it for you. And there are good examples like lovable.dev is maybe another one where you just tell it a few prompts, it can create something. It's not ideal for on-chain yet, but it's like you tell it a few things and it literally will deploy it on GitHub, on Next.js. So you don't even have to think about the deployment step as well. So this is something that gets us super excited because I think this is how we get to millions of people building on-chain.
So cool. This is one of the few times in my life where I've truly felt like there aren't enough hours in the day. Even during the NFT, 2021 bull run when I was degenning and, on my computer all day buying stupid friggin' JPEGs, it was still like, okay, it's time for bed, not sleeping a lot. Couple last year, end of 2023, early 2024, meme coins, same thing. But like with everything that's going on right now with AI and crypto, I just feel like, dude, you need more hours. You gotta work harder. You need more hours to soak this all in. So really exciting times. Moving forward though, and that was an unreal riff on AI and crypto, and I thank you for that. The Coinbase Onramp, which is something that I absolutely love. We've done over 400 episodes of the pod, and I've said on probably 80% of episodes that the two biggest use cases in crypto at the moment are centralized exchanges, because truly it is what onboards the masses, unless you're going to, use some type of mafia or cartel or, meet some dude in a back alley like the good old Silk Road days and exchange cash for Bitcoin, whatever. You're realistically going to a centralized exchange like Coinbase for the most part. And the second thing is stablecoins. It's just in Argentina. It allows people to battle inflation, and stablecoins are just brilliant for obvious reasons. We don't need to get into that. And Coinbase Onramp, you guys are literally simplifying global stablecoin adoption. I absolutely love this, and I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, so Matt, like one of the biggest problems, as you mentioned, is like basically moving from dollars or anything in your bank account.
It's a shit show.
To
it's an absolute shit show.
Right? As a shit show, fees are often really high. Failure rates are often high. Like decline rates on credit cards are insane. They're through the roof because of the like risk the credit card companies, are feeling. And that is one of the things that we have to change. We have to make it super easy to go from anything in your bank account, debit card, wherever, to an on-chain balance that you can do amazing things with. And I think there's a version of the world where in a few years, a dollar that's off chain is less valuable than a dollar's on chain, because a dollar that's on chain lets you do all these different things with it. It lets you trade it. It lets you be able to earn yield on it. It lets you be able to send it around the world for free, with the stablecoin. So these
I
are all
love,
examples.
sorry to interrupt. I frigging love that line. I'm stealing that from you. Sorry, keep going. I love that.
No worries. Like, this is exactly, I think this is what we're doing, Matt. It's like, I think this is what you and your listeners are doing, is we're bringing the world on chain. And so this is exactly what we need to be able to do, is make it super easy. And so that's where the Onramp product comes in. You're a developer, you have users show up to your app. They're super excited to earn yield. They're super excited to buy a token. They're super excited to send their friends some money, who's in Argentina, and they don't have some balance on chain. So what the on-ramp does is make it super easy to hook up your bank account, hook up your debit card. You literally, in a few clicks, in a matter of a minute, you can basically move that money then from your bank account to an on-chain wallet that they have. And the cool thing is, with USDC, we have zero fees. So if you have a debit card, you have a bank account, there's zero fees. The money shows up on the other side in USDC, or any currency that you want. Again, it's up to the developer to decide, and then the user can decide what they want to do with that. So you can think about, if you're a builder on Base, you're a builder on Solana, you want to be able to get your users to have some funds in their wallet, and this is what you can use. We have folks like Phantom, MetaMask. These are all the folks that are using the on-ramp today, but it's available to any developer in the world. And the other cool thing is, earlier last year, we also announced an off-ramp. So same thing, you want to do the reverse way. And candidly, my sense is that, like, for the next few years, off-ramp will be super critical, but someday it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
Once it's on chain, you're just going to keep it there. You're going to move it around. You might move it around a lot, but ultimately at the end of the day, you're going to keep it there rather than pulling it off chain. But again, we want to meet the users where they are today. It's often really valuable once you get the money. Let's say in Argentina, you might want to move it off chain. And that's something that, like, we want to be able to provide.
Super cool. I'd love to talk about the news that came out last week. And folks, this episode, if my math is correct, will air on the 16th of January. We are recording a couple days earlier than that. Tokenizing Base stock. I don't know, we can cut this if you want, but this was super, super cool. I saw the news last week. Every week, Rachel Wilson and I, we do a weekly roundup for crypto news where we cover the hottest news of the week. This came out. Again, I absolutely love this. What's good with that is that, how would that even work? Because again, like, there's the whole publicly traded thing, the SEC, the barriers, the 100 levels of red tape and yellow tape that comes with TradFi, and then mixing them both. Like, what's good with that?
So I can't speak more to that specifically. As a publicly traded company, we have to be thoughtful about what we share. Yes. But what I will say is, we're going through this era of tokenizing everything.
Yeah.
And so anything that we have, like, I think we're starting with basically what we call, like, digitally native assets.
Yes.
So Bitcoin is a good example of that. It's digitally native, doesn't have an existing real world analogy. But, like, USDC was the first example of a real world thing that's being tokenized. Right. Yeah. And so once that happens, suddenly you can do all these different things with that. Like we talked about earlier, this is a more valuable dollar. But you're seeing that happening more and more. And so there are examples, like I've seen, like Proppy is trying to tokenize real estate. So can you imagine if you went to a lending protocol, you dropped in your house title, and suddenly you could borrow money against that? That's essentially a mortgage, right?
100%.
And so, like, ultimately what I see happening is that there are a ton of different things in the real world that are going to be tokenized, that are going to be available on chain for you to do different things with. And I can't speak to, like, one or two of the specific things, at Coinbase, but what I can do is just speak generically to that trend, that this is happening. We're going to see much more of it happen. And I think that we're just getting started with, like, what those things going on chain are. I think, candidly, it was a lot easier to start with digitally native stuff, like NFTs are super easy to start with, Bitcoin, Ethereum, other digital currencies. But you saw with USDC, that was just one example of something. I think the next big thing we're seeing actually is like different forms of currencies. It's not just the dollar that's coming on chain. Yeah. Circle has launched the euro, has been another really good example of that. I think we're seeing lots more of that happen. So what I see is, like, that's going to happen in a much, much bigger way.
I agree. Well said there. I agree. We're tokenizing everything, and it still makes no sense that the market isn't available 24/7 like crypto. It doesn't make sense that everything's tokenized. It's just so much easier. And just, quick little examples of, I'll use the whole Argentina thing again, like sending someone money there, receiving money there, going to dinners with friends, splitting things, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I was there with an American friend. For me to send him dollars, like I have to send them a wire, like your guys Zelle and all the other apps you have, like we have e-transfer in Canada. We don't have any of that. It's just how easy is it to just fire them off some Circle, fire them off some Tether. It just, for the people who don't understand, and most people listening are crypto users, but for the Web2 folks, once they try it, once they hire a virtual assistant from the Philippines per se, and send them payment in Circle for the first time ever, instead of going through PayPal or one of the crazy websites, Payoneer, whatever the case may be. It's just that you never go back. So we'd love to see that. Nemil, you're on a roll. Last question here, my friend, and then we'll wrap up. The developer landscape, 2025, crazy year, mostly AI enabled, I would say. I don't have one single dev friend who isn't an AI magician and who doesn't use tons of AI. I have one friend, I will not name him. He, I think, works for, I want to say he's up to 5, 6, 7 companies now. Has not told the other companies that he works for them. And he is a legit, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x engineer. This guy pumps out code like there's no tomorrow. And he uses AI for absolutely everything. There's a lot of those folks. But how is the developer landscape going to change and evolve in this beautiful year of 2025?
So I think there are like 3 things that I look at. AI is obviously the biggest one, but I think like, let's talk about the different parts of AI. I think one is making it easier for builders to build. So like tools, Cursor is one example, but it's really for developers. I think there are going to be more and more tools that make it easier for builders, people who are not as native with development, to be able to build stuff. So that's one. 2 is I think the number of AI agents is going to explode that are interacting on chain. I think you'll see them buying everything from APIs to buying other goods around the world. And I think that's going to be a really critical part of it. So commerce, and then issuing tokens, moving tokens around, like you said, this like natural language wallet. I would be surprised if like at the end of the year, you're not like debating, do I use one wallet or do I use another, which has a natural language capability that I can talk to,
100%.
as an example. So I think that's definitely one big theme for us. The other big theme is payments in general. This is like, for years, I think it was very difficult to make payments a reality. So if you remember, like back in the day for Bitcoin, it was basically built as a payment system. That was the original goal of Bitcoin. But I think there were a bunch of issues early on. The block times were long, so you'd often have to wait 10 to 30 minutes. The other issues were the fees were often really, really high, and then the currency was very up and down. And so it was very hard for merchants to be able to consider it. All of this has changed. Stablecoins are there. Layer 2s are there, and Solana is there. So block times are super, super fast now. Fees have basically dropped to like a few cents at most. And can you just imagine for a second if like, I don't know, every time I wanted to watch a Netflix movie, like every, 5 minutes, I had to pay some money to do something, right? Even if it was a cent, even if it was a 3 cent, that's essentially on-chain activities today. I think what we're seeing with like stablecoins and low fees is that suddenly that's super cheap for you to be able to do. And then the things that like we have with our smart wallet, where like you basically can do a spend permission. So you say, hey, spend up to this much in fees. And often what we're seeing is people are subsidizing them through our Paymaster product. So if you're a crypto developer, you can just subsidize the fees for your users. So if you have a user, have a choice between someone who's charging you no fee, they're paying for it themselves, and someone who's charging you a fee, you'll often do the one with no fee, and then they won't have any screens pop up because they're paying the fee and you're just automatically doing that. So in general, I think all of these are going to hit the stablecoin layer a lot. And I think that payments in general, so remittances is probably a big one, is one thing we're excited about. Another product I work closely with is Coinbase Commerce. And so it's a way for merchant to accept crypto instead of accepting, dollars in another form. And so I think that is going to be another really, really big thing. The last thing is it's interesting because the last few months have been AI all day, every day. But what I would just say is like social, I think, is another really huge area. And we saw that over the course of the last 2 years with like Friendtech, was one example of social experiments. I like to think back to like 2017 where like CryptoKitties exploded. And then it kind of, then it was quiet for a while, but OpenSea was like slowly building behind the scenes. And then the NFT wave really hit in 2020. And then, Axie Infinity and others really took NFTs mainstream. In the same way as like what I've seen is a lot of really great experiments on social. I'm personally really excited to see if someone can break through in 2025. Like, I don't think on-chain is only for banking type things or financial transactions.
100%. I agree.
They're about culture and they're about people. And so I think that like there are ways about like guaranteeing that like pictures are legit, as a way of like really like showing that. On-chain could be like one example of something. Another example could be someone has their identity, they can launch personal tokens. You're already seeing that in a really big way, is personal tokens and things like that. And so I think that's the other really big thing that I think about 2025.
I love that. You and I are in the same camp there, my friend. I do think that social will be the area that sort of gives us that next, killer consumer app, because we really don't have one right now. I mean, we have the Coinbases, we have the, obviously the Binances in the other end of the world. Like, centralized exchanges are the killer apps right now. Without the sexes, crypto just doesn't happen. I'll go to war on that statement. You really can't argue it, in my opinion. Maybe someone does, but I don't see a world where that's not true. Friendtech was cool while it lasted. Obviously, they sort of screwed the pooch in that regard, and you don't need to get into that, but that is what it can be. It needs to be that FOMO-inducing moment. Like when I was I'm a 95, so I guess I was in, what was I? It was 206. I was 11 years old, 12 years old, 207, 208, getting into Facebook in grades 7 and 8. If you weren't on Facebook, you were a loser. Like, you had to be on Facebook. Like, that was cool as shit. There was FOMO, then Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. Like, you need that FOMO-inducing app where it's so good that you can't not be on it. And the only FOMO-inducing apps we have right now are financial FOMO. It's not even fear of missing out. It's like fear of not making a bag. We need that fear of missing out in the social setting. And I really think we can get that next billion people into crypto. That's just sort of my 2 cents on the matter.
Yeah, I totally agree.
100%. Nemil, what an episode. This was an absolute treat. One thing I will say, I love your attitude and your aura and your vibe. You're smiling the whole time. It was a treat being on here with you, and it's very refreshing. So I really appreciate you coming on. And like you said, in 6 months, we got to have you on for round 2 so we can sort of talk about all these crazy updates and how much AI shit has popped off from Jan 2025 to August 2025. But thanks again for coming on. Before you go, can you please let our listeners know where they can find you personally and, of course, CDP online and on socials?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter, Nemil D, Nemild, or Farcaster, same handle. And then you can find Coinbase Developer Platform. We're really excited if you want to build on our platform. It's cdp.coinbase.com. Coinbase Dev is our Twitter handle. Come check it out. We're featuring a ton of different developers. If you're a developer, you want to be featured and you're building on Coinbase Developer Platform, let me know. One of the big things we talk about is we want to make our builders go viral. And so we're really excited to see the projects they're building. If they reach out to us directly, we're going to do our best to be able to give them, a lot of awareness in the community. So, and lastly, Matt, I just want to say thank you. You're bringing the world on chain. Thank you for driving so much interest in this space. I can't wait to see, in 2025, and with all these changes that we've done with stablecoins, there are 2 blockchains, low gas fees, all these things, all the pieces are coming together for what's going to be a pretty wild world ahead.
Folks, what an episode with Nemil Dalal, head of Coinbase Developer Platform. He was on fire all epi long, just dropping knowledge bombs left, right, and center. We absolutely love to see it. Huge shout out to Coinbase and, of course, my team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, I hope you did. Please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. And back to the listeners, love you guys as always. Keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. Ciao.